Hello everyone. Today we will see Linux file system in this video. As we know, the file system consists of various objects like files and directories. We have the similar hierarchical structure in the Linux file system, which is based on Unix file system. And the kernel internally implements which is hidden from the user. So there is a concept of virtual file system where we have various layers of abstraction, and the object-oriented principles are followed in this hierarchical way of file system. So here we have the various objects like inode object, which is for the representing individual file system. We have the file object to represent the open file. Then we have the superblock object to represent the entire file system, and d-entry object for individual directory entry. So let us see about these objects in the next slides. The inode object and the file object are used to access the files as they are based on the file structure, and inode is a data structure containing pointers to these blocks of file contents. The file object represents a point of data access in the open file, so it's important to get the access to the open file using this file object, which keeps a track of current file pointer, and it remembers the permissions and tracks the process's activity. The file object belongs to a single process, but inode do not, because inode is common for the files while the file object is pointed to the open file, so which is specific for a particular process. So we can see the structure of these all objects, the hierarchical nature in this particular diagram. So we have the superblock object as a base, then we have the inode objects which are the file specific object, then d-entry objects for the directory entry object, and the file object for the open objects. And d-entry objects and file objects are related, as well as the d-entry and inode are related with the superblock object. So when we talk about the superblock object, the connected files that form the file system, which is the superblock object, a single superblock object for each device mounted and each network file system. So we have a single object as superblock object, and the main responsibility is to provide the access to inodes. Then we have the d-entry object, which is the directory names in the path names, that is cache the all d-entries in this directory entry objects. Now when we see file system, we should have some functions to access this. So like we had open, then read, write, and map, various system level, kernel level functions are available, and there are various limits for these file names and the file size and all. So based on the various versions of this Unix file systems, we have the extfs, ext2, ext3, ext4, various versions of this extended file system for the Linux. ext3 is a standard file system for the Linux that we use, and here we have the fast file system FFS. BSD based file system implementation is there for locating data blocks belonging to a specific file, and it supersets the older extfs and ext2 file systems. So ext3 is the latest which is actually used as a Linux file system, and we also use the ext4 by adding the features like extends. So a few extensions are added for the ext3 to get the ext4 file system. Of course, many other file system choices with the Linux distribution, but ext3 is the best choice. So what is the block allocation policies for this ext3? We have the scatter free blocks. We can see here the blocks are scattered on the memory various locations, and we are making the links of these memory locations as a file system. And here we have the continuous free blocks. So various free blocks are taken as a part of file, and here they are allocated by the allocator. So these two strategies are implemented like a scattered free blocks or the continuous free blocks. Now for this Linux, we have one more which is called as a proc file system, which does not store the data, rather its contents are computed on demand according to user file IO request. So as for the IO request of the process, we have this proc file system which must implement a directory structure and the file contents within. So it must then define a unique and persistent inode number for each directory and its files it contains. So total structure is followed for this proc file system as a whole file system. It uses this inode number to identify just what operations required when a user tries to read from a particular file inode or perform a lookup in the particular directory inode. So whatever operation we want to do for the file or directory, this particular proc file system is in work. When the data is read from one of these files, the proc collects the appropriate information, formats it into text form, and places it into the requesting process ready buffer so as to make it usable by the process. Now one more important concept with respect to file system of Linux is the journaling. So Axis implements journaling, which is actually the log maintenance, and it is With the file system updates, first return to the log file in the form of transaction. So what are the logs is maintained from transaction that are to be considered as a committed in the file system. Over the time, the log file transactions are replayed when there is a problem with respect to any kind of system crash or any file crash. Now here, it must be completed once the system recovers and no other consistent checking is needed. After that, replay of the log is done from the journaling. It improves write performance on the hard disk by turning random IO into sequential IO so that everything is occurring in the sequential fashion without any headache of moving on the disk blocks. So same proc file system we can see over here in this particular diagram. We have this proc file system driver for the kernel space and it is maintaining its hierarchy with respect to these files. So we can see the commands which are put over the cat command is there, which is actually the read system call and which is giving implementation of ext file system driver and the proc file system driver. So here this is working in the kernel space, the proc file system, and we have hard disk, normal access to the files to the hard disk, which is using the ext3 file system. Now when we talk about this input output for this file system, basically the Linux device oriented file system accesses disk storage through two caches. The data is cached in the page cache that we know for the page maintenance of the files, which is unified with the virtual memory system, and the metadata is cached in the buffer cache, a separate cache indexed by the physical disk block. So metadata and the data cache, page cache both are maintained over here. Now Linux splits all the devices into three classes. Now we have these block devices, character devices, and network devices. So block devices are generally the hard disk, the floppy disk, and CD-ROM. These are block oriented where the fixed size of blocks is used for the data I/O. And character devices like the mouse or the keyboard where the support is there for every character and character by character data is put in the regular files. And the network devices we have which are interfaced by the kernel's networking subsystem. So let us see about these devices with respect to the file system. So we have these block device files. Every device what we see is mounted on some file system in the Linux. We have the IO scheduler for that device. We have the block device driver for that. We can see SCSI manager, SCSI device driver is also there for the block devices. And for the character devices and the network devices, we have the TTY driver and the line discipline. So we can see how the protocol driver is required for the network, which is not required for the character device, but we should have the device driver, which is necessary to work with the hardware devices. So for the block devices, what we have is it provides a main interface to all these devices in the system, and a block buffer cache serves two main purposes. So first of all, block buffer is important for the pool for the buffer for the active IO and a cache for the completed IO. So both IO works like active IO as well as completed IO are put in this cache, which is a block buffer, and the request manager manages the reading and the writing of the buffer to and from the block device driver. So both the read and write from these blocks can be done using the request manager. In this kernel 2.6, we have a CFS, which is also called as a completely fair queuing or completely fair scheduling method, which is the default scheduler now, and is fundamentally different from the elevator algorithm, which is based on the CSC algorithm. It maintains a set of list and one for each process by default. It also uses a round robin nature of the syscan, outstanding the IO from all processes. So there is a good algorithm which is elevator algorithm for this disk maintenance or the disk access, and here 4 blocks from each processor are put at once. So that is the size fixed for this CFS algorithm as a scheduling algorithm. Then we have the secondly character devices. So a device driver which does not offer random access to the fixed block of data, that is a character device with the keyboard and the mouse. And the device driver must register a set of functions which implement the driver's various file IO operations. And also we have the kernel which performs almost no pre-processing of the file read write requests. It directly get the data and put in some fashion, put in some working to a character device, but it simply passes the request to the device. So there is just data transfer from the character device to the system and system to character device. The main exception to this rule is the special subset of character devices drivers which implement terminal devices for which the kernel maintains a standard interface because it is working on the stream of data as a character device. So to continue with this, we have a line discipline and TTY as the two concepts under these character devices. So line discipline is the interpreter for information from the terminal device, and the most common line discipline is the TTY discipline, which glues the terminal's data stream into the standard input and output stream of users running processes. So it allows the process to communicate directly with the user's terminals without any notification, without any problem. We can directly access this terminal data, and the several processes may be running simultaneously, but TTY line discipline responsible for attaching, detaching terminals input and output from various processes connected to it as a process are suspended or awakened by user. So whenever we open a particular terminal in Linux, the particular process is running under that and the input is given to that process only. So this is because of the line discipline and TTY under this Linux. Otherwise, what will happen is the same input can be given to the various process and it will create the problems. But that is not happening. For every terminal, we have the separate process and a separate line discipline TTY running over here. So to summarize all these things, what we can say, we have seen the object-oriented file system of the Linux with the various objects which are opened for the file system. Some are file level, some are directory level, some are for the running purpose of the files. Then we have the x86 file system under the Linux, which is currently working on the block structure. Then we have the journaling concept, which is the log maintenance of the files for the crash recovery purpose. And we have the device driver block structure, which are having 4 types of devices, input devices, which are important for IO purposes. Thank you.